This is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin from Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Barb Gulin provides her clients and prospects the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful strategies to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now here is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin.
Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gulin, and I have the rare treat of actually sitting in the same room as my co-host, Tony Shore, today. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Barb. How are you? We're in the studio today together. This is amazing.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I got to make a trip to Minneapolis to see some people up here.
That's great.
For our Women in Business Live event with Gradient. In fact, I was sitting next to somebody on the plane who's a flight attendant. And she's like, do you have to come to Minneapolis often? I said, no, but I get to come up here quite a bit because the people are amazing.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice of you to say. But Barb, you're bearing the lead. I mean, you're not just going to a conference, you're speaking. You're one of the featured guest speakers presenting to all these women in the financial business, and they've asked you to talk about some different financial topics, right?
I am. It's exciting and humbling all at the same time, but
Sure.
I love the opportunity to get together with my peers and share some different ideas and some different concepts and talk about things. And, you know, it's like one big pajama party, except we all have our own hotel rooms.
Right. Well, I hope it goes well for you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And some of the top financial folks are speaking at this conference, yourself included. So that's really a big deal. Now, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about women and things that they need to do for themselves financially in their different life stages.
For financial wellness for women.
Yes.
During their different stages of life.
Right.
So during different time periods.
Right.
Right.
And this could transfer over to men too, but like not as many men leave the workforce potentially to take care of kids.
Right.
Or even to take care of aging parents or other family members.
Right.
So,
yeah, some men don't typically leave their careers to raise the children.
No.
And you know, it's slowly changing. You know, I do know some, I have a couple of friends that I've had over the years where the wife had the career. And so they looked at the cost of daycare, and the husband didn't have as big of a career.
Lucrative. Yeah.
And so the husband said, I'm going to stay at home with the kids. So, but rarely does that happen. It's typically the women who end up sacrificing.
Well, or even on the other end of the spectrum where you have aging parents or family members that need care. You're kind of in that situation right now a little bit.
I am. I have to take Friday off again this week to drive down and help my dad because he's a mess.
Yeah.
So,
well,
he's 80.
You know,
he's starting to have cognitive issues.
And we honor them for taking care of us. It's the least we can do.
It is the least.
Back.
I mean, the grief
But you are the exception rather than the rule. About 70% of unpaid caregivers are women. And most of them are daughters or nieces or somebody or a sister. And all of those things can impact your career, but they can also impact your financial health and what your retirement looks like. It really can. So let's start at the very beginning, not to take a spin on Sound of Music or anything like that. But when you are first working, and I know that a lot of you that are entering the workforce are probably saddled with student loan debt. You're definitely not at the peak of your earning years. At least we hope you're not this early on.
Right.
The hardest thing to do at this time is to start saving. But the most important thing for you to do is start saving.
Sure.
Not only that emergency fund so that when it turns out you need 4 tires, you don't have to turn to the credit card, but also to start saving for retirement. I've told the story before where, you know, my mom decided to gift each of the granddaughters a small sum of money. Okay. And both of mine were planning their shopping trip.
Oh, yeah. Not good.
And both of them were very disappointed to find out that that's not where it was going. My older daughter was working at the time.
Sure.
So she got her first Roth IRA.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. My daughter she is 21 and she started her Roth IRA.
Good for her.
Right after she turned 21.
Good for her. And my younger daughter, we put the money into a UGMA account. So when she's 21, I don't have a say in what she does with it, but at least it's got to sit there till she's 21. And we can hope for that prefrontal cortex to just keep on growing so that good decisions get made.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Hey, you know, I know their mother, so I have hope.
Oh, there you go. Of course. Of course. They've got a great mom, so that's good.
I worked hard. And, I also stepped out of the workforce full time when my littles were younger, and they were 6.5 years apart.
Sure.
So by the time I was getting ready to go back into the workforce, found out there was another one coming. And that kind of changed plans a little bit. Now, thankfully, it moved me back toward the financial services arena, which is a pretty flexible career path for people. We both know other women who will be at this event this weekend that have very successfully managed a career and the littles because they have the flexibility that you don't have in a regular 9-to-5.
True.
But, again, when you're at that stage, when you first start, you're going to want to start saving. Okay? And you're going to want to put away as much as you can because of that eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. The longer the money is there, the longer the money is growing, the better the opportunity you have for it to become a decent sum. Now, it's not going to grow if you are in your 401k every day trading it.
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, you don't want to, as David Letterman always said, you don't want to monkey with it.
No,
you don't want to monkey with it.
You want to work with a financial advisor. A lot of times your 401k provider is going to offer somebody who will give you some advice. But it's not a bad thing to start developing a relationship with a financial services person at this stage of the game.
So even when you're young and getting your right out of college, getting that first full-time job, you need to start making some really smart decisions and putting money away for retirement. And, we may not have a lot of young people listening or viewing the show, Barb, but I know we have a lot of parents and grandparents who their kids or grandchildren, they would like to see the right thing happen. And I know you have clients that will either bring their kids in or have you give advice to their kids or help them start a Roth IRA. So I encourage our listeners and viewers to do that.
We do a lot of work generationally, and a lot of the ways that we as a firm structure our plans, especially when we're doing tax planning, involve working with the kids, because I want the kids to know what happens when something happens to mom and or dad. And, we try to make it as simple for them as possible. So
legacy planning, estate planning, enhanced planning to keep family harmony, communicate, make sure all the ducks are in a row.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And, next stage of the game is you find that life partner and you get married. Okay.
Sure. So that would be the middle years, the 30s, the 40s.
Right. Or even late 20s. Okay. The first thing you want to do as soon as you're married is you want to get life insurance.
Yeah. No one should be married before 30. I let all my children know that. But
I was 27.
I know. My mom was 19 and my dad was 21, and they're both still happily married and have been married over 60 years.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goals, life goals right there. But, one of the first things you're going to want to do financially is counterintuitive. Aside from the fact that you want to get life insurance if you don't already have something in place. And I'm not just talking about the stuff that your employer offers. I want you to have a policy that you own and that you control, so that if you happen to lose your job, you don't also lose your life insurance. I want each of you to maintain a bank account and a credit card in your name only. Okay. if you are combining finances, you are still going to want to have that autonomous credit so that if something happens to your partner or if something happens to the marriage, you still have a credit history to fall back on.
Yeah, you're in control of your own credit history and destiny when it comes to that. You don't want it to be tied to your partner's credit history.
And before you get married, I want you to have the uncomfortable conversation about money. You guys, going into marriage, there's got to be financial advisors out there that offer, or they should offer, financial premarital counseling. Yeah. Because, if you've got a saver and a spender, you're going to have problems.
Yep.
If you've got two spenders, you could have even bigger problems. If you have two savers, you've got probably what some would consider a match made in heaven, but they're never going to spend any money on anything.
Some pastors won't even marry you. The pastor from my the church where I grew up, pretty conservative Baptist church, and he wouldn't let us get married without premarital counseling. Right. And the first main question he asks is finances, talking about finances.
There's a lot of people that are still afraid to talk about it in this day and
Talk
age.
about whether you want kids and finances. Those were the main two. Those are the only two things I remember from the marriage counsel, the premarital counseling. And I'm still happily married. So that helped.
Exciting.
Hopefully.
That's exciting.
I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but
well, you want to make sure that when you're going into this long-term relationship that you're headed in the same direction philosophically.
Goals are important. Financial goals, goals with family. Those are very important.
Yep. And speaking of kids, okay, if one of you is considering stepping out of the workforce, more often than not, it's the woman, to raise the kids at least until they're in school. There's two things that I see a lot. I see women cash in their 401k when they leave their job to cover some financial or to pay down some bills so that they can afford to stay home. So they're paying taxes and they're paying a penalty, and you are, eating your seed before you're planting.
Yeah, basically. Not good.
Okay, so I want you to hang on to the 401k. I want you to roll it over into a self-directed IRA where you have control. And then even while you're not working, you can still participate in a spousal IRA if your spouse is working and has an earned income. Okay. I want you to work that into the budget so that you are continuing to fund an IRA for yourself and continuing to save for retirement in these younger years. Again, eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. You want that money working for you longer.
Yeah. So if the working spouse has an IRA or a retirement account, they can contribute for both themselves and their spouse.
Actually, it's called a spousal IRA. And as long as on the tax return, your spouse has earned income, even if you don't, you can put money into an IRA.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted that clarified. That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get confused about that, but you're right. And you've mentioned that before, but that's really important.
It is. It is. And, then as you are re-entering the workforce, if you decide to go back into the workforce, we want you to pick up that 401k again. Now, we talked about getting insurance early on. And usually when you're first married, about the only thing you can afford is term insurance. Okay. It's better than nothing, but it's like paying for car insurance. Except that we're not legally required to have it. But, we're paying for car insurance in case we have an accident. If we don't have an accident, they don't give us any money back.
Right.
Okay.
That money's just out the door every month. Same with term life, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And we also want to.
And hopefully you'll never need to use it. The good news is you wouldn't need to use it. The bad news is if you don't use it, all the money you paid into it is just poof.
Right. Which is why as you're earning more money and as your cash flow improves, I want you to look at getting some sort of permanent life insurance that builds a cash value. Okay.
Yep.
That's going to give you a tax-free bucket of money that you can access later on in retirement or even before retirement if something happens.
Like for long-term care, for example,
there is
right?
a long-term care provision for it, but like I have a couple that are clients of mine that they are on the younger side. They're getting ready to have baby number 3.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But they've already decided that they want to, once the kids go to college, take a gap couple of years where they're not working and where they're traveling and doing some of those bucket list things and then go back into the workforce later on. Well, they won't be 59 and a half when this happens.
Right.
So we're starting now to build buckets of income for them that they'll be able to access without taking an early withdrawal penalty, without having to do an IRS 72T distribution out of their qualified accounts. And for those of you that aren't in the industry, that's a way that you can take money out before you're 59 and a half without paying that penalty. But it's complicated and has a bunch of rules attached to it.
Yeah. And you might not qualify. So,
right. So, cash value life insurance is a way that you can put that into your it's an arrow in your financial quiver that the government isn't controlling so much when you can take money out or how you take it out. Well, they do say how you can take it out a little bit and still keep it tax free. But again, that's, the whole thing about all of this is making sure that you're in the driver's seat. And that cash value life insurance is going to also provide that long-term care coverage that, a lot of people end up requiring some sort of assistance later on in life.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. My dad, you would think, would have needed it at some point, but he ended up dying in his sleep one night. Okay. My in-laws, on the other hand, former in-laws, paid into a long-term care insurance policy for north of 20 years. And then when they went to file the claim, because my mother-in-law needed that assistance, found out that she had forgotten to pay the premium 2 years before. And so it had lapsed. They had lit a match to tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, terrible.
Point. Again, the cash value life insurance, if I get my wish and you just fall asleep one night and don't wake up the next morning, there's a death benefit there and we haven't wasted the money.
Right.
If I don't get my wish and you need the care, the money's there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And since we're talking about women, of course, this is probably the next life stage. I'm jumping the gun, but it ties in is because when you talk about long-term care, a lot of times, most of the time, women outlive men and they live longer.
Statistically, they do.
They live longer, so they're going to need more money for healthcare in general.
Right.
Because healthcare in retirement's expensive.
It is. And statistically, if the husband has fallen ill, more often than not, unless we have segmented that money out and there's some money that is like in an IRA for the wife, more often than not, a lot of times the nest egg gets depleted taking care of the first person that gets sick.
Right.
And there's not much left.
Yep.
And you, again, healthcare is expensive in retirement. I'm glad that you brought that up. Bonus point. If your employer offers a health savings account, an HSA, I am a huge advocate of those. Huge. Because unlike a cafeteria plan where you're setting aside that flexible spending money, that flex spending money has to be used in that year. Okay? A health savings account, that HSA rolls over from year to year to year and can continue to grow. In fact, my oldest daughter is married. And I still carry her on my health insurance because she's in her early 20s. But as soon as she got married, I made her pick up her employer's health insurance because even though she's covered under my plan, if she were to get pregnant, dependent maternity coverage is not a typical group health insurance benefit.
Right. Yeah. My son is married and he's still on our health insurance.
Yep.
But only for he's 25, so only for a year.
Only for another year.
Yeah.
But I I put Alex into the HSA option.
Oh, that's good.
Because that money grows from year to year.
And you can use it. It can stay in there forever. You don't lose it. It can
stay in there forever. And if you pay for those, it's designed to pay for things like your prescriptions and your doctor's visits and things like that.
Your co-pays. Right. You can use it for anything pretty much health related.
But if you pay for those out of pocket and let that HSA grow, you can turn around later and reimburse yourself for those expenses.
Yes.
And take that money out tax-free. There
you go. Yeah, an HSA, and we've talked about them briefly on the show before, but as I understand it from what you've told me, it is the only designated IRS account that you put money in tax-free. You don't have to pay the taxes on the money before it goes in, and it comes out tax-free.
And you can even use
and it grows tax-free.
It grows tax-free, and you can use it when you retire to pay for things like your Medicare Part B
premiums, co-pays.
You can pay your med subs with it.
Yep.
There's a lot that you can use your HSA for. It is, kind of like an IRA on steroids.
It is. It's the only account where you get it tax-free on both ends.
Yep.
You put it in tax-free and it comes out tax-free.
Yeah. I mean, it's one part of the tax code that Congress hasn't dabbled with yet. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm kind of hoping I don't put any bugs.
There's a little rumbling.
I
hear rumblings like, they're going to look at that. So I hope they don't.
And they, they have tried to do things. The IRS is trying to, Congress, not the IRS, is trying to do things to raise revenue. We've got a $1.5 trillion gap between what they're taking in versus what they're spending.
Huge.
So,
deficit.
We saw back in 2021, there was legislation that was going to cap your ability to convert a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, depending on your adjusted gross income. And that got thrown out of the bill before it hit the president's desk.
Which is good.
It is very good. It is very good. And, the other caveat with all of this is while you're building that retirement nest egg, do what you can to build as much of it tax-free.
Right. And a lot of what we've been talking about here is that last phase, your later years.
Yep.
Right. As you get, from 50 plus and planning for retirement. And then once you're in retirement, these are things you need to be aware of.
Yeah. And you want to, it's working with a financial services professional. You can help segment your dollars for what goes where and what you use when. And if this happens, I pull the money out of this account. And if that happens, the money is over in this account. And it's nowhere near as complicated as it sounds. But by taking the time to make those plans and designate things, if something happens to you, it makes it a whole lot easier for whoever has your power of attorney or who's got to cover the bases after the fact to come in and read the map and see where they need to go and what they need to do.
Sure. Well, and financial wellness is even more of a sticky wicket. I don't know what the word is, but for women, unfortunately, than men. I mean, there are so many other things, women living longer. I mean, the good news is we're living longer. The bad news is we're living longer. Yeah. So, and women have that, or women take time off work to raise the family, or their husbands pass away first, which leaves them with a lower income.
Or they're the caregivers.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember when you're married, they talk about that widow's penalty with Social Security. When your spouse dies, you are going to get the higher of your benefit or their benefit. You are not going to get both.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't keep any of yours if it's not the highest. You'll only get one or the other. And so, that's going to cut a big portion of your monthly income. And people say, well, there's only one of you. But I mean, the bills stay the same, basically.
Your house payment doesn't get cut in half if one of you got your taxes.
Your electric bill doesn't change. Your taxes probably won't change.
I mean, your property taxes aren't going to change.
Nope.
And if anything, you're in a different tax bracket then.
Yeah.
If you need that same amount of income to live, you're paying more taxes than you were when you were married.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mhm.
So, and that can be tough, but there is a solution, and that is work with a financial professional.
That's what we're
Pick
here
up the phone and
for.
give Barb a call, because you and your staff there can help our listeners, and you help so many clients. This is what you do for your clients. Come up with strategies, put them in place to deal with this, and get a plan in place for retirement income. Plan for nobody likes to talk about it, but plan for the loss of the spouse if you or your spouse should pass. So I think it's great that your mission, and you're at this women's conference talking about this.
Yes.
To help women with their finances and their financial wellness.
Mm-hmm. You know, it is an honor and a privilege to get to help somebody on this journey. And it is a blessing when we get to go to the next generation and let them know that they had it all planned out.
That's great. Well, Barb, before we go, let our listeners know, I know that you'd be happy to talk to them. They can call your office, set up a consultation. How do they do that?
They can reach out to us at anchoryourretirement.com, or you can always call our office at area code 913-553-6222 and select the option for appointments and scheduling. I'm pretty sure it's number 4 on the auto attendant. And somebody from our team will, if they don't answer the phone right then and there, they will reach out to you and get you on the calendar so that we can help you navigate out some of these ups and downs with retirement and try to make it as easy a process as possible and a successful one for you.
There you go. Well, Barb, great show today.
Yes.
Great topic. Great to be here in person.
So nice to be
Usually
in person.
we do the show remote each week.
We do.
But now we're in the same studio for once. This is great. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gulin.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Anchor Your Retirement. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound retirement plan. For more information, please contact Barb Gulin at Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. Call 913-553-6222 or visit them online at anchoryourretirement.com.
Advisory services are offered through Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.